live now. Call Eric to see if he's there. So, well, maybe I can do it from here.
This is a great idea.
Yeah, it's stuff that can spin around all
Yes,
the
I
time.
always do this. So this is great idea.
Yeah.
Do we need to take a picture?
No.
Hmm?
No. Eric, can you hear us? I think it's okay because we can see ourselves. Hear us. Wrong word. Okay, I want to say a couple things to you. The
Oh, it's on live, right?
yeah, but nobody's there.
Oh, maybe if we, let's talk, and I would like to cover. Let's finish step by step.
Eric. Oh, I didn't get the. Oh, I haven't given you the thing yet. No wonder he can't find it. Find stream. This thing stopped working. Now it's always blocking everything. I have to move it. I don't know what that means. Where's that darn button?
Oh, why don't we ask Eric?
Here we go. Copy. And close. Now, he can't join until he sees. Nobody can join until they get the link. So nobody's got the link. So I just want to say there's a couple of.
Let's. This is the broadcasting, so
Yeah, but when there's nobody there, it means nobody can
we
hear.
better be courtesy, show kind of energetical courtesy.
To the computer?
No, people who are.
People aren't there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's 0 people there.
Let's talk about kind of behind and private things.
Okay, our volume's showing that we're talking. That's good. Here we go. He sees us now. There he comes. He's in. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Eric. Thank you for supporting
He can
us.
hear us. Okay, great.
Great.
Okay.
So, okay.
We'll just let it stream here for a few minutes and then start at 12.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
For your help. ありがとう。
5 minutes. Miss Claudia's, they're asking more questions. Okay.
Can we make a prayer?
Yeah, let's make a prayer. We only have 4 minutes.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who transgress against us. Lead us away in temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Absolute infinite being is God, everlasting life, love, and mercy. Manifesting yourself in yourself as a total wisdom and the Almightiness. Enlighten our minds to understand you as the truth. Clean our hearts to reflect your love towards you and towards all other human beings. Amen. Good work. Let's start.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today. Oh. Did I scare you? Nobody here.
Don't you need an iPad?
Hmm?
Don't you need your iPad?
I can't get into it. I can't use
So
it.
how do you see the
I'm going to have to
question?
use my phone.
Oh, okay. sure. Is your phone off now? Sound really.
Sounds off.
Okay, great.
Also better.
Yes.
Okay. Let's turn that up. I think I have the ones you have. I'll have to look on yours.
Stephanie.
So,
Stephanie.
oh, that's there. Okay, I got it.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Got
Yes.
Okay. Hey, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Glad you could join us today for another session of question and answers. We're going to pick up a few we didn't get last time, so we don't want to leave any questions behind. So this one is from Stephanie. She would like to know if ringing in the ears, about ringing in the ears. Some people say ringing is a message from angels trying to tell you something, but when I have ear ringing, I try to understand if it's a message, but it's only just ringing in my ear. I also hear continuous ringing in my ears. Is this something called tetanitis, or what is it? Well, since it's your experience, I can't say if it's tetanitis or whatever, but if you think it might be, a doctor would have to tell you that. And they probably will say you have, even if you're hearing angels. But sometimes we hear these really fine, refined sounds, and it sounds like ringing. But if you would close your eyes and sit down and meditate into it, and it takes some practice to get this level, but you'll start to notice that the ringing really sounds more like singing, really high pitched singing, but not like music we sing on earth, but just like tones, musical tones, harmonious musical tones. And as far as messages go, don't expect to hear somebody say words to you because the archangels communicate through intuition. So you may get an idea. So don't think you're going to hear the word in the ringing, but see what happens inside your heart and mind. Maybe you feel inspired about something. That could be a message.
Yes. Daniel said most of the things. It can be tetanitis and or angel voice. But if it's an angel's message, please try yourself attune with the sound. Something like melting. Try to melt yourself into that sound. Be kind of one with the sound. Then sometime vision might come. Sometimes concept might come. Sometimes like a more kind of sound might come as the message or voices. So there are many possibilities. So as the potential, it can be both. And if it's a tetanitis, it's really like a consistently creates the sound. So we will be able to tell the difference of it.
Okay, Linda is asking about the egoism of the present day personality. It seems as though egoism is built only from negative elementals, emotions, and behaviors, never from positive or loving ones. And it seems the egoism actively tries to encourage even more negativity in us when it gets a chance. Why is it so greatly negative? Or why is it so geared towards negativity? Is egoism an aspect of the worlds of separation that each of us has to face and purify as part of the journey? Yes. And if our negative behaviors, thoughts, and emotions build the egotism, then what do our positive, loving behaviors and thoughts build? Whatever negative is manifest, positive must also be present. Or do positive, loving behaviors actually originate from our real self? Yes. But let's try to explain it a little bit. When we first incarnate, we don't have any egotism. We're just living like an animal mostly in caves. We don't have much egotism at first. We have the sense of survival and food and all that, and that makes us aggressions and do these kind of things. But once the human beings start to incarnate on Earth, they go through this very, very long, slow, gradual raising of their consciousness from the instinctual level all the way to the self superconscious level. That takes a long time. So when they start having experiences, the first thing that starts happening, they start to have reactions they like, they don't like, and pretty soon that an egoism develops in them. And at first, it's not that different. I mean, it's not like the egotism of people you see today. It's very simple. And as time goes on, the negative pole of the egotism pulls away from the positive pole. Now, the positive pole still keeps its connection to the inner self. So, the positive pole is what brought you here today. It's what brought you to spiritual teachings. It's leading you upward toward the inner self. But the other one is going this way and it's trying to take you away. So, it creates all kinds of things, thoughts, experiences, influences on us that want us to try to get us to follow this egotism. When you get somebody gets mad, you get mad or something. You want to if it wants you to follow, get really mad at the guy. Tell that guy off. It wants to pull you away from the proper response. And this goes just enormous numbers of incarnations. And then something interesting starts to happen as you get into the higher levels of consciousness, that positive pole is always pulling an attraction on the negative pole. And after a while, it stops its rebellion and realizes it has to surrender and drop its unpurified parts in order to return and be reunited with the inner self. And it's the same thing that happens with true demons, not human demons, true demons. Even those are redeemed, as St. Paul says, the redemption of everything. So sooner or later, this polarity thing stops and it starts to return. The egotism starts to return. And then you can proceed to higher levels of consciousness, obviously. But it takes a long time. It takes a long time. So, what does our loving behaviors build? It's energizing the power of this positive pole on the personality. So it's getting more loving, more kind, more spiritually oriented, which again creates more of that attraction on the negative pole that eventually pulls it back to it. I don't know if you've ever saw the Dark Crystal by Steven Spielberg, but at the end of that, the negative ones and the negative ones are pulled back into the positive ones and redeemed. So this polarity of negative things creating egotism, energizing egotism, that will pass one day. But we have to start now. We have to start now and say, well, I'm just not going to get that angry at that fellow, or I'm not going to do that bad behavior that I know isn't correct. People would come to Dascos and they would like to engage him and talk. They really wanted to talk and show him what they knew. And sometimes they wanted to fight with him. They tried to get him in a fight, and he would insult him or do something. And one time Dascos was sitting there, and he goes, "Oh, I'm just too lazy to fight with you." And that's what we should do. We should be too lazy to engage in our weaknesses, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that ultimately, in the state of unmanifested state, from the unmanifested state, we are going to manifest it. Just like at the top of the symbol of life, the perfect right triangle, equal-sided triangle, as the manifested God. In that state, it's a perfect unity. There's no fighting and no kind of positive or negative. It's perfect. But from this state, we are going to descend into the world of duality, world of creation. In those worlds, we have to experience polarity, positive and negative. And we will experience all of negativeness and positiveness. This is our program as the human being, not as the archangels. Archangels are always perfect unity, but we human beings are programmed to experience these polarities. That's why there is no wonder to experience lots of negativities because this is our program. So, but experiencing many negative comparing the positive ones, we will slowly will be able to find a kind of middle point. So what we call positiveness at this level of self-consciousness, it might become negativeness in the future. It might become. But at this point, we compare positiveness and negativeness, and we try to, as Daniel said, try to go in the positive, what we think, and ascend the ladder of self-consciousness.
But when I say positive pole, don't think it means the part of your person egoism that goes that does something goes, wow, what a good boy am I. I really did that better. I'm so much better than that. That's not the positive pole. That's just another face of the negative pole.
That's right. That's why I said positiveness and negativeness will vary depends on the development of our self-consciousness.
Linda's asking if there's time, could you explain what it means when Yohanan says that Christ is the light which lighteth every human being coming into the world? I try to understand this concept, but get tangled up in the meaning. Well, a lot of people have across the last 2,000 years. St. John was the closest to Christ, and he understood him better than any other disciples, for sure. And so, right in the beginning of his gospel, he puts what Linda's talking about. He says that in him is the life, and in that life is the light of every man coming into the world today. Well, then, how can you call anyone a non Christian? How can there be more than one religion? If this is we're talking principle, we're not talking religion, we're not talking the personality of Jesus versus the personality of Buddha or something. We're talking about the principle that's being brought forward. So St. John didn't want anybody to be confused that Christ is in everyone. Before he came on earth, after he came on earth, during the time he came on earth, he is the light in everyone. What's the light? It's self-awareness. We're all self-aware to whatever degree. Well, we're all self-aware, but we're expressing it to a certain degree. I mean, that's a more accurate way to say it. And so he wanted us to know that Christ light's in everything. And it's not just, then people used to ask this question, well, how can the people before Christ ever receive salvation before he came? Well, he's been in them the whole time. He's never been absent. So that's what that means.
Linda, just imagine and visualize the image. We are in the ocean of life. The everything and everyone is in the ocean of life. We are swimming in the ocean of life. But from the holy, the monad, as a spirit ray, we are the tiny little drop of the ocean. But this drop of the ocean, tiny little drop of ocean, we are life. Christ consciousness is in each one of us. So, but as a spirit ray, we just descended to the world of creation. But you in Linda, me, in Daniel, and everyone has this. Everyone are precious, tiny, little drop of ocean, but without exception, all of us has this Christ consciousness in us. Yes. Do you know that? I can hold it.
So, Mr. Joseph is asking us, what are the steps to self-realization? If you had to explain something to who is new to the concept. Personally, I always just kind of feel out the person because it's always the same situation no matter what the subject is. You have to feel out if your words are really reaching them or not, or if they're bouncing off. In other words, you have to be a little sensitive to the energy. You can tell, I mean, if you're really paying attention, you can tell when your words go by and they go, they're taking them in. And some people are resisting. If you feel the resistance, stop, don't push. But on that particular subject, we have to describe what self is before we can describe what self-realization is. What's the self? Well, we all think the self that used to be, people thought, well, my body, that's myself. I think we've moved past that now. But now we think, oh, our feelings, our range of feelings, good to bad, that's us. Our range of thoughts, good to bad, that's us. Those are ours, but they're not us. There's a self creating that. And that's what we're looking for in self-realization, the self that creates it. Now, there's many levels. There's, in fact, 4 stages of selfhood. So there's really 4 stages of self-realization, we could say. And the first one is just coming to know who you are as a personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your hopes, your dreams. That's you as a personality. That's not true self-realization, but we have to start there. We have to start there because we have to learn to separate that little, we call it the outer self, the personality self, the temporary personality self. That little self, personality self, we are expressing this lifetime. And we have to separate that from the self that we are this lifetime and have always been and always will be. And let's just call it the inner self for the moment. So the process is we start to learn and we have a certain little degree of self-realization. I realize I got some problems here, but I'm pretty good over here. Okay, strengths and weaknesses. Then what? Well, that's not really me, and you can't think of them as you because they change. They're not the same ones you had 20 years ago, and they're not the same strengths and weaknesses you'll probably have in 20 years from now. So that's not really us. It's an expression of us. Okay, well, who are we? Well, the first gift God gives to anybody is freedom. Any being is freedom. And in that freedom, we project down from a spirit, soul, inner self, or permanent personality to the present day personality. And all the way through that is freedom. So that freedom of that personality self, even though it's got a luminous spirit soul self, it gives freedom to that present day personality self to be the worst criminal in the world. It's allowed by God that person can go so far astray because he knows that going astray teaches you the lessons of which direction you should be going. So the second one is to realize that inner self. And the inner self is the sum total of all the present day personality selves. Then there's another level of self-realization called soul self-realization. This doesn't happen in the worlds of existence. This one happens when you transfer into the worlds of beingness, when you transcend into the worlds of beingness. And that's wonderful. And then there's another one called spirit self-realization. And that's what happened. That's the next level because the spirit projects through the idea of man creating the soul. So once you realize that, you don't stop there. You keep going back to the very source, the spirit itself, and spirit self-realization. So there's kind of 4 self-realizations, although the first one isn't true self-realization. And now you could also call this, they call it in India, God realization. Because now not only you know who you are, you know what God is. And all the way through this, as you get these self realizations, you can't learn more. I mean, as you learn about yourself, your true self, you're learning about the true God. And as you learn about the true self and the true God, you're learning about the true nature of reality. So all the way through this level stuff, we're getting higher and higher or more inclusive views of reality, God, and ourself.
I will explain a little bit the easier way. If I were you, Joe, I will approach to the person this way. First, I will ask that person to close his or her eyes, and just like we do in meditation, I ask that person to get rid of, to release all daily emotions and thoughts. I mean, switch off the day, their daily life, their daily life, and yes, and ask them to find, to feel their I-ness. Probably most of people can feel I-ness, even releasing all their daily emotions and thoughts. After that, after they are finding the I-ness, I will ask them, then in your daily life, how do you live your daily life? Are you living in the level of the kind of animal level, instinctive kind of consciousness level? You know, just eating, or just like instinctive level, or are you living like a subconscious level, just living according to our daily routine of our life, following what everyone are doing? Are you living like that way, the subconsciously? Are you living your life like that way? Or the next level, are you living more consciously? Or why I'm here? Or who am I? Or what am I doing here? Where am I going? And try to seek, the meaning of life and death. Just like us seeking the truth, what's going on in our life. Are you living in that level? Or the next level, the are you living like using more than five senses, ordinary five senses? Are you using like sometimes you can hear or feel or see something? Are you using this kind of sense, what we call psychonoetical ability? Hmm? Are you living like that way? Or the next level, are you living more and more using these kind of sense, including ordinary five senses? Are you living that way? Or the next ultimate level, can you tell everything by attunement? And do you live your life? Everything is one, and everything is in yourself. Do you live your daily life like that way? This is the goal which we are going to reach, which is called self-realization. By attunement, we can tell everything, we can know everything, and that we are always feeling that we are one, knowing everything, and everything we feel, everything is in us. So, like that way, our self-consciousness is going to develop. But first of all, we have to know we are not our emotions and thought. We are I-ness. And we should know how we are living in our daily life, every moment, in which stage of the consciousness. I approach the person like that way.
Good. Thomas is asking, he says, I've had a kind of flu sickness for over a week.
we already, sorry,
We did it?
Thomas, yes,
Okay, it's on the list.
we are sorry. The last time we had so many questions and we became out of time. But Thomas has the physical symptoms and he was suffering, so we already answered it separately. Do you
That's right.
remember?
No, that's right. We canceled.
How are
that.
you? How is your health condition, Thomas? We
Yeah,
hope you are recovered well.
But I'm actually going to answer it again because there's some things in here I noticed this time. He says, I've had a kind of flu sickness for over a week. I hope you're feeling better.
Mhm.
A few days ago, I started doing Aki's thyroid meditation, and I'm afraid the sickness might be getting into my lungs. Stop there. Don't is to be afraid, but we attract whatever we desire to be afraid of. So don't feel it as afraid. Just feel it like you're trying to overcome it and you're trying to prevent it from going on further. But don't be afraid of it. And the second thing I want to point out. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's just don't be afraid for sure. And everything else we told you in the email is true. But the fear is the one I really am tracking on today because it brings to you what you fear
Just
eventually.
just please take care of yourself.
Okay. The next one is from. Oh, I lost it. Here we go. Elkie. When you feel heat above your hands, or when your hands get extremely hot, it feels like a fever. Even water droplets form around my nails a few times. Sometimes generally so strong of heat is also in and around you. What to do? Well, you make that statement like that's wrong. There's nothing, it's okay. What it is it's a representation that the etheric vitality is building up in your hands while you're doing this practice. Don't be afraid of it. It's okay. Some people will feel it as a tingling. Some people will feel it as heat. Some people just feel it as a heaviness because it's the etheric vitality is collecting in that area. So no fears, no worries. It's just natural. You don't have to don't try to stop it. Just allow it to be what it is. And in time, I think you won't have that experience. This is kind of something that happens in the beginning when we start to notice what's happening with the etheric.
That's all. Yes, this is exactly what we are practicing in Patreon meditation lesson in Mediverse. Uh, yes, please don't be afraid. Just like he said, the heat means we are creating an elemental of the etheric hands using the ether in our etheric double. Okay, it's okay, but eventually, if if it causes trouble, too much heat, they don't know what to do, as you asked us. So if it's trouble for you, please practice using aesthetic ether, not to focus on. Probably you are concentrating on your hand, you are focusing on it. So practice yourself not to focus on it. So what I mean is switch off your aesthetic ether. So we will practice switch on and off our aesthetic ether. So if you feel too much heat on your hand unnecessarily, and if you don't like it, please try to focus on the other parts of your body or other things. This is very important step for as the next step. So just practice yourself, switch on and off. But the heat is a good sign. You are handling, working on the ether in your etheric double.
Yes.
Okay.
Gustavo has a question from his Brazilian circle. He has a circle in Brazil. Has Daskalos addressed a successor for his teachings? Yeah. He said, there needs to be no successor. I will continue to work and guide the circles from above, from his next level of life. So he's not in need of having a successor. And no one that I know should be claiming to be the successor. And he used to, I was in Cyprus in the Stoa lessons when all this broke down about who's going to be the successor and everything. And he used to laugh about it. I mean, he really laughed about it. He said, this isn't like being the king of a country where you pass on the title. Each person has to work for this level. And then he said, there is no need for a successor. I will continue to guide the circles after I pass over. So that's the answer.
Teaching says, second coming of Christ is in each one of us, happens in each one of us. So in each one of us, Christ is here in each one of us. According to this sense, the other side, all masters and teacher, wishes each one of us as the pure successor of this teaching.
Wayne says, hi, I'm in New Zealand. There are no circles here, but I would sincerely love to pursue the path of the researchers of truth. In the Symbol of Life book, Daskalos, he speaks of our brother, guide, and instructor. I appreciate all the information available via Patreon and the many publications, and have been soaking all this up with great interest. How may those of us in countries without active circles go about finding an instructor and guide? You don't have to go about it. You already have one. It's your own guardian angel he's referring to. Of course, you have outer brother instructor and guides. You know, we try to do what we can do. Daskalos did what he can do. But the real one is inside. And the only value of the outer one is to help you find the real one, really. And then it's like you'll get answers unbelievable. I mean, he will guide you and instruct you, and he can't make a mistake. An outer teacher or guide can make a mistake because they're human, but he's not human. He's an archangel. So he's totally at one with God all the time. So he doesn't say anything that's not from God, basically, is what that means. And the Patreon thing, we started the Patreon as a system for which you can step forward and go to, especially if you're not around a physical circle. So our first offering was the awakening offering, about the 5 different aspects of awakening. We got to figure out who we are, where we are, what's going on, where we come from, where we're going, what's the point, all that stuff. So those first, 20 lessons, 20, I think it was, 20 lessons was on that. So if you start at the beginning of that, you pass through that, you will come up to speed on the basic teachings of the research. Beyond that, we're going to do something more advanced. We're doing it on healing and what that means and how we get sick and how we get healed. So it's all there for you. But there's something else. If you'll send an email to contact@researchersoftruth.us, I'll send you a link of all our free resources that you can study for people who aren't around a close circle, a physical circle.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, I'll tell you my own experience of my own archangel. Now, I first consciously when I was 7. But there was a period in my life where I'd been around teachers and my teacher had died. This is long before Daskalos. And after a while, I just kind of felt lost. I felt like, well, who's there to guide me? I'd read books and that was nice, but I just felt like I didn't have my guide. Where's my guide? And I was laying in the bathtub and I was feeling really sorry for myself, actually. Oh, where's my guide? Where's my guide? And I just kept thinking this over and over in my head. And man, the archangel just came in. And what do you want to know? everything I would ask him for the next 24 hours, he would immediately answer. And even like, why is the sky blue kind of thing? I would ask him all kinds of questions, earthly, spiritual questions. And I heard his voice so clearly. And I just remember feeling so much calmer and just relaxing back into the truth instead of into my concern. So he's there. Believe in him, trust in him, call him out. He's waiting for you. Do you know how long he's been waiting for you to turn and ask him something? He's been lovingly guiding you. He's been guiding you without coercing you. He's been correcting your mistakes without criticizing you. You know how hard that is? That's hard. Well, not for an archangel, but he's the one we're trying to find. And we won't need, that's what Odesco said. You don't need a master. He would say that over and over. The master's inside you. And a lot of time, and this is a little hint, if you get into real deep teachings, he's telling you don't try to awaken the Kundalini, of course, and don't try to do certain things. And he said, unless you're in the presence of a master. Well, where do we find a physical master to get in his presence? There's so many people, and there's not that many physical masters that could be there. He means your guardian angel, your inner brother, instructor, and guide.
Beautiful. Not only guardian angel, whatever we wish, especially you are asking about the studying, how to study this teaching. Once you wish purely, then they know what you are feeling or what you are thinking. And so everything is kind of see-through. They can see everything from the other side. So I would suggest you to create a pure thought form if you really need a gathering, physical gathering of this teaching system in your country. Please create an elemental, creative thought, pure thought. And as you say now, express your wish by word. And the next, as the attitude, as a behavior, just express yourself. Oh, how nice. So please move on this kind of starting from creating a thought form, orally just express. And as your behavior or the action, just express it. Then, as I said, everything is, they know what you are intending. So it will be given naturally. So please try this method. And as a material, we are providing a lot of materials through internet and Patreon. So please use this means to study deeper.
Eric is asking, recently I feel like I've attained a new level in my meditation. Being able to close the doors to my subconsciousness seems stronger, and I enjoy a heightened sense of quiet and focus. Also, being able to more clearly distinguish between my I-ness and my elementals. However, I notice that I have some really strange and bizarre dreams, and one in particular was quite disturbing to me, where I woke up and thought, what the heck is going on in my subconsciousness? Appreciate it. Well, this is a very good, attaining new level of being able to close the door to subconscious, so important, so important. You're starting to master your subconsciousness. Well, what is the subconsciousness? It's like an iceberg. 90% of it, our consciousness is like an iceberg. 90% of it is below the water, or 80%, and that's considered the subconsciousness part. But the truth is, you don't really know what's in there. And because what's in there, some of it has come from across time and space, over enormous periods on Earth, many lifetimes. So we have a lot of stuff in there, and the deeper you go, the stranger it gets, really. So it's so important to be able to, it's good to be able to silence the subconscious and everything, but we have to put it in order, which means what? It means we have to, and Dasclos used this word, boldly, and he said you can be frightened by some of the things in there. And what your first thing you'll find out, he says it's like a wild jungle, overgrown. What's it overgrown with? A bunch of stupid thought forms we don't need. the mute and meaningless ones, some negative things we don't need. So it's our duty as a researcher of truth to go in and put that in order, to pull out the weeds of discontent and plant good seeds of love and kindness in there. Then we're ordering our subconsciousness. It happens all the time. The deeper you go in meditation and stuff, the more it can kind of disturb your subconsciousness. You start to do this stuff and you start to like open the doors and start moving things around, and it's like it gets active, more active. Especially if you're trying to get rid of a certain elemental that's causing you problem, that's hiding in your subconsciousness and comes out every once in a while and then it goes back in. Those are very hard, and you have to start doing it. As soon as you start doing that, what happens? It changes its face. It just puts on a new mask for you. It's much harder to catch your egotism and the unruly things in your subconscious than you imagine. And compared to all the, let's say, wrong, bad, negative elementals in us, that's what said they all seem like a toy compared to the egoism itself, the negative pole of the egotism. So when you wake up from a disturbing dream like that, analyze. That's what you're supposed to start doing. What was I feeling? Why was I reacting to that? Why did that disturb me? This is the introspection part. So
Done? Okay. Yes. As he says, we are living our conscious, just a little bit, tiny little bit. Just think about the ocean. And our work to seek the truth is a dive into the ocean, which is the exploration of our subconsciousness. So self-realized being, like master teacher, self-realized beings don't have subconsciousness. So all our work is exploration of our subconsciousness. But at the beginning, yes, we have to close the door, lock the door of the seal up completely our subconsciousness, which means our daily emotions and thought, not to be influenced by those kind of things. That's why we try to seal our subconsciousness completely. But actually, our work itself is to dive into our subconsciousness. So, can I just say some example? If do you do scuba diving? If you go dive into the ocean, you put the gear, right? You put the mask and the oxygen bottle and the kind of appropriate the gear we place, just like this, because we should not be influenced by the ocean, or we soaking the sea water. We can't dive deeper and we can't see things well. That's why we have to seal our own subconsciousness at the beginning completely. But once we can do this process, slowly we go dive deeper and deeper into the ocean. Then when we go deeper, of course, we see unfavorable things too sometimes. So we have to work on that. So once you start to experience it, please work on each one of this which you encounter, which you see in your dream through introspection, and cleanse yourself one by one. But congratulations, you just put the perfect gear to go dive deeper into the ocean. But please don't be afraid that whatever you see, just introspect on whatever you encounter and cleanse yourself one by one. It's a natural step.
okay, Claudia is asking, does Daskalos address animism in his teachings? So if so, what does the teachings say about animism? Okay, well, we have to define what animism is, right? Well, if you go looking for a definition of animism, there's like 3, maybe 4 different, very different definitions. I'm going to address the one I believe she's talking about, which is the identification of inanimate things as having like a personality or nature. So, people talk to the computer, they call them she's, they call boats she's, this is animism, one definition of animism. Of course, Dasclos's never used that word in his thing, but he did talk about the essence of it. And the essence of it is projection. We're projecting things into what we see and interact. Man finds himself in a cave with big carnivorous beasts trying to eat him, and he's cold, and he's trying to eat and stay survive, and he's scared. He's frightened. There's all these dangers around him. So what's he do? He feels the need of calling on something stronger than him to protect him. So they start creating gods. This is animism. And well, they created the god and then put their own feelings in the god, their own ideas in the god. This is animism. More commonly, it's called anthropomorphic. And we do this with dogs, we do it with computers, we do it with cars and boats and gods. And Dasclos used to use the example of the Jewish God. It's angry, it takes revenge, it's jealous. Is this the kind of God is this the kind of God that is real God? No, it's a God that Gaslow said they took this idea of God and dressed it in Jewish sentiment, which means they gave it the feelings the Jews were having at the time. That's why it's such a kill your eye for an eye. It's such a violent thing because they were violent. They were violent at that time. So they imagined their God was violent, and they imagined their God was going to destroy their enemies because they didn't like their enemies. They figured God wouldn't like their enemies either. So this is a kind of animism. It's where they put that in it. Now I just got a text from her, and apparently I'm not talking about the right animism. So where would that go? Oh. Give me 1 second, please. No, I don't see it.
Maybe text this one.
No, I'm not going to text her.
No.
Anyway, let me go back. She continues on. Of course, animism also could be spirits doing these things too. And they are spirits, they're elementals. Those two things are the same. So we've created these elemental gods, as Dascalos calls them, imbued them with our ideas. Just think about this. Jesus Christ. Not one of us has the same concept, idea of Jesus Christ. Everyone creates their own version and meaning of everything. There's not even 2 that are identical. They can be similar, but they're not identical. So another question she's asking, why does the daily introspection practice?
Can I answer them one by one?
Sure.
Yeah. And then I understand that animism, they have many definitions, but I understand animism as we see spirit in everything, even in the material things, object. But in our teaching, no, we human beings as the logoic expression and the holy spiritual expression, we have spirit. We are spirit, soul, spirit and soul, human beings, and the animal and the plants, the holy spiritual beings, holy spiritual expression, and the things, the material things or objects they are not like a spirit, neither of them, but everything is in the ocean of life. Everything existing in the world, in the ocean of life, God. This is what teaching says.
Okay, she's asking also, why does the daily introspection practice only address the negative aspects of our day and not the positive aspects of our day? Isn't it important to acknowledge the things we worked well in our day that we may promote good behavior? If you were to walk outside your door and meet a friend in the morning, and you had tied your shoelaces just perfectly, what good would it be for the fellow to say, "Oh, your shoelaces are tied so perfectly, but you forgot to put pants on"? So, what I'm saying here is we grow more by fixing the negative things than by praising the positive things. It's okay to acknowledge, yeah, okay, it did good work. Don't get caught in it, because then the egotism wants to say, "Oh, what a good boy am I." But we don't acknowledge it because it's done right. We want to acknowledge those things that are really causing us the problems, really holding us down, really making us suffer. Don't you want to come out of suffering? Well, you have to look at those things that are maybe not so agreeable. Maybe I said something to something I shouldn't have said. That's introspection. Maybe I could have said something kinder. Or maybe I should have told him this. He would have liked that, maybe. So we try to figure out what we're not doing quite right. Yes, okay, great. I'm glad we have good things we can acknowledge, and we should keep our thought on them, but we shouldn't dwell into them. And also, I want to say one other thing about we were talking about diving into subconsciousness. This is back to Eric's question. Daskala said you don't have to dive deep into your subconsciousness. And in terms of the past, way in the past, in terms of the past, you don't have to dive deep because everything that you've ever done is traveling with you. It's lessons learned, lessons unlearned. So we don't have to go looking really in, and then 5 lifetimes ago, why am I so afraid of cats? Something like that, or whatever your thing is. You don't do that because it doesn't matter. What matters is right here now, that elemental of you being afraid of cats is here. So deal with it now. Don't try to go, yes, I was a Christian, I was thrown. That's nonsense. Forget all that. It doesn't help you at all. What helps you is learning how to deal with it now in your life, how your life is now.
Though the lamp ahead of us, as Christ said.
Yeah. Then she says, I have come across the Essene teaching 251 from the Gospel of Archangel Gabriel. Well, the Essene teachings are quite good, the original Essene teaching. I don't know what teaching 251 is, written by whoever wrote this Gospel of the Archangel Gabriel. So can't really comment on that one. Then she asked another question. Is there a teaching on talismans? Oh, sorry. Okay, you're good.
Let's go one by one. Okay. About the introspection. Yes. As I said at the beginning, the things which we think positive might become negative in the future. So we can't tell exactly what is positive and what is negative. Of course, there is positive things and negative things. In this teaching, we call it the positive and the counter positive, because according to the development of our self-consciousness, we see things in a different perspective and a different way. So in introspection, for example, now we start to do the Christmas shopping, or Cyber Week, after Thanksgiving, we will go shopping. And then we think of someone who we like, or their family, or whoever we love. And because of this love, we think, we want to give present and choose the present. And we put much time to choose the gift to our family. It's positive. What's wrong? to select some nice gift to our family or beloved ones. It's positive. But okay, when we introspect it, in a deeper level, more and more, then oh, how much time I spend my lifetime to go, everywhere, psychoanalytically and physically also to pick the gift to use a precious time, lifetime for that. So slowly, then we will have the viewpoint to see things in the neutral way. So the highlight of the introspection is to gain. Our life is going on in many ways, positive, negative, but the essence, highlight of introspection is to catch the viewpoint of our inner self, to see our personalities, our daily life of our personality, what's going on. So we have to see things not from this side, the other side, from the higher viewpoint as inner self. Then we can slowly see what we think positive as in a different way. So it seems like introspection. We are not just focusing on what you call negative things. We work on what we call negative things at the beginning, but it's kind of, I don't know how to say, but at the beginning we work on the things which we really need. Oh, this is not really what, but it's not like reflecting or blaming ourselves. We just need to obtain the position to see things in a neutral way. I hope I explained well.
Claudia's continued to ask, let's see, is there a teaching on talismans? If so, what is the essence of the teaching? Well, talismans, as you know, is an amulet or something that's been blessed by someone powerful and strong that creates a protection on it. That thing is an elemental, of course. Now, you can put bad elementals on material objects, or you can put good elementals on material objects. But that's the essence of it. It's just somebody's elemental in a thing, a talisman that you believe in. It could be a cross, it could be a six-pointed star, it could be anything, an eye of an all-seeing eye, whatever it is. It could just be a simple piece of jewelry, and somebody can take it and bless it. Now, before he passed, Dasquos taught me, you weren't there, taught me how to put his vibrations on an object to make it a talisman. So we do that, but it's just simply an elemental. The essence of the teaching is a positive protective elemental has been put on the talisman.
Okay. About the talisman, uh, so far, many people like to wear the clothes. The clothes existed a long time before Christ was born. So it's not kind of Christian things. Symbol of the perfect balance of all element for element. So as long as we know the true meaning of it and wear it, it's gonna be good talisman. And the 5-pointed star is also 5-pointed star is also good talisman as the symbol of a perfect archetypal idea of human beings. Once we achieve the self-realization, we have a perfect shape of 5-pointed star. And also 6-pointed star is going to be the perfect, strongest talisman because it's a symbol of Christ consciousness. Once we reach the self-realization, we all wear the perfect 6-pointed star. And the 6-pointed star is also the symbol of the creation of the universes. So those three are the good talismans. We create a double six-pointed star with cross in the middle. This is the strongest.
Now, here's a good question. How does the researcher of truth define someone that's enlightened? That's a good question. And how to measure each level of enlightenment? Is this similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Very interesting, but truth should reemerge naturally. Well, I don't know what Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I sort of think it's not the same thing because enlightenment is not about fulfilling needs, human needs. It's not that. I mean, it's fulfilling the ultimate human need, and that is to know who you are. But it's not fulfilling levels of human needs. But it's a very good question. Now, the question we really should be asking here is, what is enlightenment? Has anyone ever defined that for you? We're all going for it. Oh, we read about it in spiritual books. Oh, I want enlightenment. But what is it? In truth, enlightenment is a clear breakthrough into the nature of reality. So we're going to have lots of those enlightenments. The ultimate enlightenment is self-realization because you're breaking through to the ultimate level of reality of who and most importantly, what you are. So the way we would describe it as enlightenment is just higher and higher levels of understanding, clear insights into the nature of reality. But self-realization is the ultimate enlightenment, knowing who and what you are.
Mm-hmm. On this, enlightenment is how much we express the nature of God in us, expressing in our daily life. And the ultimate level is self-realization, just give love, express love, the nature of God. So the answering to your question, enlightenment is how much we express nature of life, which means, in a simpler word, express better our personalities more and more and more. And ultimately, express God itself, life. This is enlightenment. And maybe he has another question.
That question and this next one is from MH, whoever MH is, but I feel this question is very consciously written, and I want to give it a good addressing. And the question is, what does the researchers of truth believe about the one that tried to tempt Jesus, in reference in the Gospel of Matthew? Well, by the one, I'm supposing you mean the evil one that's often called Satan and the devil. And in the story, as Christ goes out to the desert 40 days and he's tempted by the devil. And each time he has to say, oh, get behind me, or he does something and not buy into the devil's offerings or temptations, we'll call it. This is good. And then she asks, is this a disconnected archangel? Is it an angel of the elements that's fallen to tempt us all? Or is it just the body's flesh and desire as a result of being instinctual human being, an instinctual human being, or both? Well, first of all, let me just address this. It is not possible for an archangel or an angel to fall, despite whatever the Christian teachings have been. These are not archangels. Once a spirit being is classified as an archangel or a human being, well, let's just say archangel, it's not possible for him to fall. It's just not possible. What is possible is that instant, that eternal instant before these spirit beings get classified into an archangelic order or a human order or anything, they still have freedom, because freedom is the first gift given to God to all beings. So right before the classification, They say, I'm not going to be classified as an archangel. I want to do this other thing. I prefer to think of myself as God. And the moment they choose not to be classified as an archangel, these spirit beings, not archangels, fall. And by fall, I mean they descend into the etheric counterpart of the noetical world, the psychical world, and the material world. Here, they're not allowed to touch the body of a human being, an animal, or a plant. Despite all these other stories you've been hearing, they can't do it. The true fallen ones cannot do it. We project elementals. These fallen ones project elementals, and their elementals are the true demons. Now, I have to say true demons in the sense that humans are creating demons all the time too. So we classify it in the system of research of truth as human nature and true demons. Human nature demons, true nature demons. And I love this one. Daskalos says, don't think these true nature demons in there are as bad as your own elementals. Many times we find more evil in a human elemental than we do in a falling one. Yeah, they're cunning. They're there to do certain things to test us. So in this regard, Daskalos also said, don't think of them as, so scared of the evil one. Think of them as your strength trainer. You go to gym, you get somebody telling you to do this exercise and it's really hard and you don't like it, but it builds strength in you. It's the same thing with the true demons and the fallen ones. They come to us, but if you either succumb and get destroyed, I guess, or you become strong and you overcome that influence. This is what makes us strong. This is what allows us to pass through these levels of tests and initiations, reaching to higher and higher levels of consciousness. And let's see what else is the next part. Okay, but this is a great subject. You referred to the tempt. Did he tempt us? Well, what's the difference between being tempted and being in temptation? We say in our prayer, the original Christian version is, God, please don't lead us into temptation. Well, that's just nonsense. God doesn't lead people into temptation. So Daskalos changed that part, and now we say, lead us while we are in temptation, because all of us are in temptation all the time. We're tempted. Okay, we can be tempted by the evil one, if you want to call him that, or whatever you want to call it. We're tempted for sure. But temptation is something different. Being in temptation is something different. Being tempted is one thing. I just described that. If we fall for it, if we succumb to that temptation, then we're in temptation. And being in temptations means being in some kind of ordeal to pass through. Say you're tempted to steal something and you steal it. Then you're caught. Now you're under the ordeal of going through the court system and jail and getting out and I don't know, whatever it is. That's the process of being under this temptation. But being tempted is something different. Now I'm going to read a story from Daskalos, which I love very much. And I'm going to read it. Instead of telling it from memory, I'm just going to read it to you because I love this so much. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Daskalos had a Cypriot guy come to him one day. And I'm going to try to do this, but you got to realize how humorous Daskalos was with people. He's very subtle, but it was lovely to watch him engage with people. And this guy came to him and says, "Sir, I'm telling you something, and don't tell me I'm under an illusion." Daskalos, "What is it?" He said, "At night when I retire and I'm alone, I feel the devil near me tempting me." Daskalos started laughing. He started laughing. And then he acted interested. What is this form of this devil near you? When you told Daskalos something, a lot of times he would ask you all these questions that would reveal what's really going on without ever telling you directly. But so the man told Daskalos, "I don't see his form, but I feel him near me very strongly." Again, Daskalos questioned him, saying, "Now this devil is coming to you and tempting you?" Yes, the man said, the devil is tempting me. Daskalo said. You could tell he was doubting the story. The devil is coming, and how is he tempting you? And the fellow said, yes, he's tempting me. He even insults me. The devil is insulting me. I hear his words. Don't tell anyone this because they will consider I'm a fool. Again, Daskalo just kind of summed up. So you hear the devil who even insults you. Yes, definitely. And then he says, the devil's telling me stuff. So Daskalos delivered his answer. If the devil existed as you imagined, really existed, he would come and give you a slap for blaming him for tempting you this way. He would say, why should you accuse me for tempting you? Daskalos then told him, there's not any devil outside of you who is tempting you. There's no devil outside of you tempting you. Start doing introspection on this and be sincere with yourself. Analyze yourself because the devil you're telling me about, it's you. The man reacted and said, oh, don't tell me that, I'm afraid. And that was the end of the story. But Dasko's point is, it's these elementals that we're creating that are doing the temptation to us. It's not, you can say there's devils out there, but again, it goes back to the classification of the demons, the true demons, and the human in nature demons. So it's not just like one devil, it's many devils. And the ones that really harm us and prevent our advancement are the elementals within ourselves, the human and nature demons in ourselves. So that's why all the effort's been made about purify yourself, get rid of negativity, free negative influences in you. Okay.
Yes. Back to this question. Christ, all the events which Christ left us, which we read in the Bible or in the book, he is Logos, so he's God. So he doesn't need to suffer or tempted by whatever. But all event which Christ experienced is symbolically showing us the Christ in us has to be developed, the way how we should experience to reach the self-realization. So the experience of Christ being tempted by whatever in the desert is the experience which we are going to experience or we already experience. We need, this is necessary period for everyone as a human being to unfold our archangelic nature or our divinity. We can't, of course, we can't be self-realized to receive this kind of hardships and hard time, desert period. The more we experience it, the more we will express, unfold the divinity. So this experience of the Christ is symbolically taught us how we will spend the time period to reach self-realization. And even Moses experienced the same way, and he found the tablet. So this is a necessary period. So don't be afraid and overcome, express more and more your archangelic nature and the nature of life.
Now, the Daskalos wrote a book on Christ. And he did not put that story in that book. I have not heard why he didn't put that story in his book, but I did hear him say Christ was never tempted. Just now think about this. What's Christ? He's that perfect, immaculate ray of God. Okay. So he's perfect God and perfect human being. He's not capable of being tempted. I know it's a good story in the Bible, and she's right. It does show us the way. It ends up showing us how we should deal with temptation. Get thee behind me. You don't fight it. You don't energize it. You just get it behind you. Just keep
Yes.
moving. Keep going. And but the point I want to make now is I think it's interesting here when we talk about the desert. Moses goes through the desert. Long time, suffers. There's no support. He's starving. He's thirsty. He's in this desert for I forget how long it was. Long time. And Christ goes into the desert for 40 days. 40 days is all through the Bible. 40 days in Jonah and the whale, 40 days of night and rain for the great flood. All this 40 day stuff. It's a period of gestation, it symbolizes. But anyway, one thing Daedalus does say that each of us has to go into the desert. And when you reach a certain place in your work in these teachings, he said everyone will have to pass through the desert, and I'm quoting him, will have to pass through the desert as a new Moses. So this is just part of the whole trial. And I mean, he was tempted to quit in the desert. I mean, this is just a symbol thing. So when we say in our prayer, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Have you ever thought about that? Lead us not into temptation, or lead us, what Daedalus says, while being in temptation, while we are in temptation, and deliver us from evil. Well, again, being tempted is a test. So what we're here doing is we're not asking God, please don't test us. Won't lead us into temptation. He doesn't do that. But just through the natural process of evolution, we will be tested. And if we succumb to that test, it becomes the temptation, the ordeal. And deliver us from evil. Well, after we succumbed, we're praying, help us out. That's what that means. Is help us out of the temptation we've succumbed to. So that's just a few thoughts about that question. It was a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, MH.
We still have the question of
Where'd that one come
maybe
from?
you skip one.
It's not in my list.
It's Hugo's question.
It's whose question?
After Eric's question, there is a Hugo's question.
Oh,
Yes,
Cortez. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah, Cortez is out. I downloaded a frequency generator application for my iPhone. Enlightenment on the phone. I never understood. I never intended to use it for meditation or any practice that is similar. However, I discovered some interesting theory stories on YouTube about frequencies. I think because Daedalus and Daniel Aki is our special meditation teachers, emphasize that over-meditating is dangerous. Can I safely use, or should I rather avoid it? Well, I don't know what this is, but I have a certain suspicion. If it worked, let's say it's good and it works, it's a crutch, right? Okay, if you need to use a crutch in the beginning, you start walking, use it. But we don't need them. I mean, that's the whole point, is to throw off our crutches. And I don't know if any of you ever saw the movie, what's the one with Tom Hanks? Forrest Gump. He's a kid, he's crippled, and he's braces all the time. At some point in the movie, he starts running and the braces just fall off of him and just fall away. And really, that's been my experience in this teaching. The more I get into it, it's like all of a sudden these limitations, these outdated thoughts and ideas and behaviors, they just start to fall off of you, and you really start to pick up speed, and you can just run. So the intention is we don't really want a lot of crutches. We want to try to start to walk without our crutches. Maybe you need a cane for a little while. That's okay. That's okay. But don't get caught in the thing, because it's an external thing again. And every time something external is brought to us for something that we're looking for internal, we get caught in the external, whether that's an energy generator or accelerator or whatever you called it, or an entire religion. You can become so identified with the thing, you miss the fact of what the religion's for. So, yeah.
Many kind of convenience and new device are invented and prevailed in the world. And I think if you feel for you to use it, if you feel good to use it, please try. I also don't know what it is, but what I can advise you is please try whatever you feel like to trying and feel good. But please don't forget, he mentions about the frequency. You mentioned about the frequencies. We all of existing in here has frequencies. Even the material things, each person has a frequency, their own frequencies. Whatever existing in the world has the frequencies, vibration, movement, motions. So we should not forget to feel this kind of original frequencies. We have to be very sensitive to feel this original coming from inside, emitting from the core point of each one of us. We have to be very sensitive to catch these frequencies. And I strongly suggest you to spend the time and feel the frequencies in the nature, because the nature is created, most of the nature is created by archangels, maintained by archangels. So that's why many people are healed and feel good and toned and balanced when we spend the time in the nature, in the ocean or in the mountain, because we feel for perfect frequencies, high vibration frequencies through it. So try any convenient device and a method, but please try to remain in yourself, to feel naturally without depending on that kind of device. It's going to be a little trouble if you can't meditate without this kind of device. If you can't lift yourself up without this device, that's something we should avoid. So remain in yourself in a natural way to feel all frequencies and try whatever you feel good. This is my advice.
Well, it turns out we got a whole bunch more questions just now as we were
Maybe
talking.
next time.
So maybe we can talk to them next time.
Yes.
Thomas, you're asking about the sense of smell and taste. Could you resend that original question? Because I don't see it in this list. And we'll try to answer it next time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's just a whole lot more. Sorry, Danielle and Kathy and everybody.
Yes.
We'll try to take care of them next time. I think there is one maybe we should answer now. It's kind of an important one for everybody.
Emergency? A pressing question?
No, it just seems like it's a
Yes,
good
let's
question.
do that then.
This is from Christine. Because we learn not to be offended or hurt, does it imply that there's actually no such thing as emotional or verbal abuse? What does one do as a researcher of truth if one finds oneself in a relationship with such dynamics? Just stay in it forever in the situation no matter what? I guess I could apply that to family, romantic, work life, and not a not nice boss. In any area, really, to make it a general question. Is a seeker supposed to just suck it up because we know we should not feel hurt? Did Daskalos ever speak about this kind of thing? Well, sure, he spoke about it all the time. And he said the two worst devils are offended or feeling hurt, wounded. So, but that's a good question. Does that mean we just take it on the chin all the time? This is not a teaching. This is not a teaching system about becoming a doormat. It's not about letting people step on us. And if you recall the teaching on the first labor of Hercules, where Hercules has to kill the lion of anger in himself, of course, but then he cleans the head out and puts the head on and makes a growl. Now, why is that? Because if you're too innocent, too sweet, too agreeable, people will take advantage of you. They'll take everything from you. Really, I found some people who would just take, and they don't care. So we're not just supposed to lay down and put up with it. And certainly, there is such thing as emotional, verbal, and physical abuse, and mental abuse. We can abuse people with all three bodies, in that sense. But we don't have to take it. I mean, we should try very, very hard and work with the person as much as our capacity can. And then wait a little bit, try it again. Just try it. But if it's one of those cases where it's just a completely destructive downward spiral, you come home every day, and the husband comes home every day, beats the wife, or his wife comes home, and that starts nagging the husband and kids, and it goes on and on and on. There's a time to say stop. And I've told this story before, and it applies directly to your question. And that is the people in Daskalos' neighborhood who were poor, and he was helping them. He was anonymously sliding money under their doors on certain dates. When he sensed that they needed help, when he picked up their vibrations, he realized they needed money, he would put it under their door. Now, these people were so disagreeable. No one liked them in the neighborhood. They quarreled with every neighbor, and no neighbors liked them. One day, there's a knock at the door, and it's the police with these people. And they say, these people said you stole from them on this and this date. What do you have to say for yourself? And Daskalos was very kind and loving and said, oh no, I didn't steal from them on that date. In fact, on this date, this date, this date, this date, I put money under their door. Police looked at people and they laughed. And the other people fell on their knees, said, oh, Daskale, we're so sorry. We love you. We love you so much. Thank you for helping us. Oh, please, we would like to come and visit you. He says, no, they said, please forgive us. He said, there's no need for forgiveness. I love you. I don't need to forgive you. He said, we'd like to come see you. He said, it's better that you don't. So here's a case where people were doing some abuse. It didn't really hurt him. It was just people would just hear the stories. But nonetheless, it's best sometimes that we're not around people like that, because they will hurt themselves on us. They will look at you and fight with you and blame you for hurting them when it's all really coming from them. But this is not an excuse to run away from a difficult relationship. And the reason you're in the relationship is to learn a lesson. Every relationship we're in is to learn a lesson. What's the lesson? To learn to love. It's always the same answer, to learn to love. But sometimes love means it's best we don't see each other. That would be my answer.
In this condition, if you are taking physical abuse, definitely have to do something. Have to ask somebody or have to consult with someone else, and have to do some solution, physical way, immediately. But psychoanalytical abuse, I can deeply understand what you say. In that case, please create yourself, create that light shield, whenever you encounter in that condition, you just put, a light shield around you, and try to dissolve all kind of negative elementals from your partner or whoever, and keep yourself in the nature of God, love, peace, wisdom. Try to make yourself grounded, connected with the divine nature as best as you can. And we have 7 promises, and then recite the 7 promises inside of you. And from the important things, whatever you see or you receive, just try to energetically dissolve it. But please don't let yourself to be wounded or hurted by that. Just with your light shield and introspect yourself, not the person, yourself on that, and find the answer how to cope with it. And our love is not just receiving whatever we are treated or whatever we are told. No, we can say no. We can say stop it. We can say some advice not to do it. But we should not be wounded or hurt saying so. With clear heart, with loving heart, we say strongly no. We need this kind of strength to say no, or as he said, keep the proper distance. If things doesn't go well physically, we keep the distance, and then we might have the better opportunity ahead. Nobody knows, but the most important thing is to keep love, peace, wisdom always in you, without being influenced whatever you are given by outer factors.
And I'm going to end with a prophecy. One day, and I hope it's not too much further in the future, but one day, the view on emotional abuse is not going to be much different than the view on physical abuse is now. It's inappropriate, it's unacceptable. So, most importantly, make sure you don't. God bless everybody.
God bless everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining.